Lines and angles. Objectives. To identify relationship between figures in space and to identify angles formed by two lines and a transversal. Parallel and skew. We talked about this in the last chapter. Parallel lines are lines that do not intersect. They give you that the symbol parallel, the two lines, means that they're parallel to each other, but they have to be in the same plane. Skew lines are non-coplanar. They are not parallel, but they do not intersect each other. So we'll notice that they give an example of, well, we could do AE and let's see, DC. Those are examples of skew lines because they're never going to intersect each other, but they also are not parallel to each other. And then we have parallel planes, are planes that do not intersect each other. An example in the classroom would be like the floor and the ceiling. Example 1 says, which segments are parallel to AD? Okay, if we're looking at parallel to AD, first we need to find AD. AD is this segment right here. So if we're looking for segments that are parallel to it, we could have, let's use a different color, BC. We could have EH. And the one most oftenly missed is FG. And the reason we have FG is because we have that diagonal type plane that cuts through the figure. Okay. Then we have explain why FE and CD are not skew. So we have FE and CD. And again, the same reason they're not skew is the same reason that FG was parallel to AD. We have this plane that's understood to be right here, even though it's not drawn in for us. We can draw it in, and they're actually parallel to each other. So we can say because they are parallel. Okay. And I want you to write out the word parallel so that way I know that you filled in the notes and we're listening to it. It says, what is a pair of parallel planes? So now we're looking for parallel planes over here. And we could have the top, and to label that we'd say it's plane ABC. And plane, if to be parallel to that, we'd have to have the bottom. And so we could say it's EFG. We could also use another set of parallel planes. We could have the front, ADH. And then we'd have the back right here, and that would be BCG. That's a C. That's an ugly looking C. Hold on. BCG. I want you to name one more. So you get to name one more. Okay, and then the last one says, what are two segments that are parallel to plane DCGH? So first we got to find the plane that they're talking about. So let's see, plane DCGH. So we have this side. They want two segments that are parallel to this plane. So if they're parallel to the plane, we're looking at AB would be one. Or we could have EF. Could also be another segment that's parallel to that plane. Okay, a transversal is a line that intersects two or more coplanar lines at distinct points. So our transversal right here is this line because it's intersecting line L and line M. Usually when the book talks about transversals, notice how they label it with the letter T. They don't have to do that, but that's typically what they do. Also, just to note, we have our exterior angles, that means they're on the outside, and then we have our interior angles, which are the inside of our lines created here. Alternate interior angles are non-adjacent interior angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So here we have our transversal, and the word alternate means that they're alternating sides, and interior means on the inside. So if I have angle 4, it has to be on the opposite side and still on the interior, so that means 6. So angle 4 and angle 6 would be an example of an alternate interior. Another pair of alternate interior would be 3 and 5 because they're on alternating sides of the transversal, and they're both on the interior. Same side interior angles are interior angles that lie on the same side of the transversal. So again, we have our transversal, and if they're on the same side of the transversal and on the interior, we're looking at angle 3 and angle 6. There's one other pair on the same side of the transversal. If I'm looking at angle 4, it would be angle 5 because they're on the same side of the transversal and they're both on the inside. Now, same side interior angles is the definition that Prentice Hall and Pearson use. If you were looking at a Glencoe book, instead of calling it same side interior angles, they would call it consecutive interior angles. So just be watchful of that if you were to see that later on. Obviously, you won't see it in this textbook. Corresponding angles lie on the same side of the transversal and in corresponding positions. Here's the big thing, corresponding positions, and they're on the same side of the transversal. So if I'm looking at angle 1, it has to be on the same side of the transversal, so I know I'm either looking at 1, 4, 5, or 8, but it says in corresponding positions. So since this is in the upper left, if I look at according to this transversal, with this line, my transversal or upper left would be 5, so it's angle 1 and angle 5. Then I could also have angle 4 and angle 8. It would be angle 2 and angle 6, angle 3 and angle 7. Alternate exterior. Okay, now we know alternate means on opposite sides, exterior means on the outside. So if I say angle 1, then it would also be the alternating side of my transversal would be 7. And then the other one would be, I'll use a different color so you can see it, angle 2 and angle 8. Because those are non-adjacent exterior angles that lie on the opposite sides of the transversal. Example 2. It says, use the figure, what are 3 pairs of corresponding angles? Okay, so if we want corresponding angles, we have our transversal here. So if I say angle 1, the other corresponding to that, remember they're on the same side and they correspond position, so that would be angle 3. And then I could have angle 8 and angle 6. And it says they want 3 pairs, so let's see. Angle 2 and angle 4. Now, even though they didn't ask for it, the last remaining corresponding angle pairs would be angle 7 and angle 5. Example 3, it says, are angles 1 and 3 alternate interior angles, same side interior angles, corresponding angles, or alternate exterior angles? So first we need to find these, and I know it probably did not copy very well on your paper. So here's our lines, and that didn't show up well either, so let's try red. Here's our lines, here's our transversal. This is 1, 2, 3, and I think that's all they labeled. So we want 1 and 3. So how does this angle relate to this angle? They're corresponding, because obviously they're both on the same side of the transversal, so we could get rid of all of our alternate interior and alternate exterior because they're both on the same side. And then when we're looking on, it says same side interior angles. Well, one's on the inside and one's on the outside, so that gets the same side interior angles out, leaving us with just corresponding. Lesson check. You need to try the lesson check and have it filled out before you come to class. We're going to use Pear Deck to go over this together, but I'm not going to give you a lot of time because you should have it already filled out.